Happy Thursday, everyone. I want to also say a happy 20th anniversary to FLAPA. This is my first year joining FLAPA at this conference, so I'm very excited to be here with all of you this morning. I know it's pretty early, but as those have told me already, this is nothing for facilities and operations. They start earlier than this, so I'm excited to be here with you today. So, I'm Jasmin A. Jones, and I am a life strategist and growth mindset coach. I want to welcome you here today to Mastering Leadership, the Power of Human Connection. And that's where I want us to focus during this session today, is the power of human connection and how that is so important for the work each of us does every single day, connecting with each other, making it an opportunity where we can get to know the person next to us. So I hope you've had some time to do that already between yesterday, if you were here yesterday. Good morning and welcome, or this morning. And hopefully I won't trip myself up with the podium, so welcome. I was just introducing myself. I just want to welcome you. Happy Thursday. So imagine as you came here to this conference, right? Everybody made a choice. Hopefully it was your choice to be here this morning, to be at this conference. But imagine you're excited. Maybe you get a day off of work, right, for the next 3 days. Yeah, that's always nice, right? And we have the opportunity to connect with other people. And you've made a choice to come here and be a part of this conference. But imagine you're walking the halls and you're excited, right? I know I come with energy. You're going to learn that about me really quickly. And I'm walking the hallways and I'm excited. I'm here for the FLAPA 20th anniversary conference. And I say hello to people and no one says hi back. Let's say I'm walking the halls and I want to go introduce myself to you, but you ignore me. And that's possible. That may happen. Maybe you have a lot on your mind. Maybe it's too early in the morning and you don't really want to be bothered at that time. Imagine what that may make you feel like. You may question yourself, why am I even here? Right? I came here to hopefully learn and develop, but also have the opportunity to connect with other people while I'm here. So I want to let you know, keeping that in mind today as we focus on the power of human connection and how that, to me, is the root of mastering leadership, that you can take some skills with you. Maybe you already know it, and awesome. If you're a perfect leader, I'm so happy to hear that. Although no one is perfect and there's always room to grow. Even the best companies are innovative and they're constantly finding ways to be able to thrive as a company with their teams, right? So I have to say that in the past 25 plus years that I've been in the workforce, I've come across a lot of different types of leaders, right? When you're working and dealing with people, you're dealing with different personalities. You're dealing with their backgrounds, right? At first, you don't know them. So the idea is to be able to find ways to connect with those people, especially when you have to work with these people every single day, at least Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends too. And a lot of times, we spend more time with these people than we do our own families. Think about that. If this was my team right here, I have to spend Monday through Friday with you. All right? The nuances, the ups and downs, the obstacles, the challenges that we face. I have to get to know who you are, right? And hopefully you get to know who I am. And no, you don't have to become best friends with the people that you work with. But there should be a sense of mutual respect and understanding. There should be clear expectations starting from the top. That's where I always feel that it begins. It starts from the top of your companies, your institutions. What their mission is, their values, and then that trickles down into the company, whether it becomes a thriving team and thriving company, or very much a toxic work culture, a toxic company that literally drives burnout and attrition rates go up the sky, right? And that's a lot of time, money, and energy when you don't invest in your people that way. So in the last 25 plus years of my line of work, in different roles that I've been in, no matter what role I've been in, whether it's been an admissions director, an assistant director, whether it's been a success coach, an advisor, Whether I've worked in the nonprofit world, public, private, charter, whether I've worked in any line of education, kindergarten through 12th grade, all the way to higher ed, where I've worked at Rutgers University, Valencia College, Florida Polytechnic University, University of South Florida, University of Central Florida. No matter where I worked, what I found to be true in my experience, that the most effective leaders, and keep in mind, you don't need a title to be a leader. And we'll get into that too. Just because you have the title doesn't mean you have your people. Just because you have the title doesn't mean that you fully know how to lead your people. And that's key. And we'll discuss that today. But what I found in all those leaders is that they knew how to master, and this is not working, give me one moment. Let's see here. We'll have to use that then. Okay, thank you. What I have found is that the most effective leaders that I've worked with understood the power of human connection. They understood what it required, not to just meet metrics, because of course that's important, right? We need to meet the numbers, right? The metrics. We have to get our jobs done and be efficient, right? You have lots of tasks that you're working on. And let me tell you, I have such an appreciation for facilities and operations. Without facilities and operations, these buildings, these institutions, these companies, really, I don't think can exist, right? We need you in order to function with our day-to-day. But beyond that scope, again, how do we connect with each other to make sure that we're running these teams and you give an assignment or a task, right? And there's a project due. Communication is key to making sure that you're able to have efficient results. So the leaders that I've worked for, both the groups that weren't the best of leaders and those that were really amazing leaders, whether they had the title or they were leading the team, because maybe they were more of a natural leader that way. They understood that every person is an important piece to the puzzle. And they knew how to connect with others. Hi, come on in. You can find a seat, yes. Mm-hmm. Over here. Yeah, let's make room. There's some available seats there. Mm-hmm. They knew how to connect their people. They knew how to make sure to connect with their teams, to get to know them, go beyond the role that you have as a title, right? They understood what that meant to bring teams together. And for me, more importantly, when I've experienced people, when I go through my day-to-day, as we all do, ultimately, I always remember how people made me feel. And I love this quote because of one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou. I believe to be so true. And this is something I do my best to practice in my day-to-day. And that's to remember that oftentimes people will forget what you've said, right? I may not remember every single thing you said to me months ago, but I'll remember how you made me feel, right? So oftentimes you'll forget what people have done, although sometimes that's hard to let go too, right? When some people have wronged you, for sure. But more importantly, you'll remember how your team made you feel every day when you go to work. You'll remember if you had a boss or senior leadership or president of your company who really took the time to get to know you, value you, show you that respect, give you the time of day to connect with you, and actually make you feel like they care about you, right? Again, you don't have to treat them like family, right? I mean, we all have different families we come from, and even our families, sometimes we may not get along with our families, but we do have to figure out ways to be able to connect with each other. I want you to keep in mind that with that, when I've been a part of these wonderful teams, what I found to be so great was the energy that we shared, right? And that's something that's built. over time. And for some people, it's on day one. You can walk in and you're like, you just connect with someone right away and you feel that energy. When you walk in this room or when you're walking around the halls for this conference, hopefully you're feeling an energy. Hopefully there's an excitement, right? Wouldn't it be great if every day we were going to our jobs and we're like, yes, can't wait to go to work this morning? That's not always the case. Sometimes you dread Mondays and that's real, right? Or maybe you dread all week. And if you're at that point, I say we got some work to do, and let's find you something new to do and somewhere else to go. If you've already been somewhere, and sometimes we get stuck and don't know how to move forward. But remember that you are your brand. You are the energy that you bring to a room and to the people that you work with, and your energy is infectious. And just like a bag of rotten apples, it starts from that one rotten apple. I think of that so vividly. Once you have that rotten apple in there, it spreads very quickly. And we have to kind of find a way to nip that as well. Hi, you can come on in. So when we're keeping that in mind, discussing the energy that we bring and getting to know people, I want you to think about this iceberg model. You may have seen it. It's very popular. We use it a lot in coaching. The idea is, at the surface, we have preconceived notions about people. We think we know people just because we looked at them or saw them for a moment, and we've painted a picture of them without even really knowing who they are. You may have walked in here this morning, you saw me up here, and you're like already painting a picture about me without knowing who I am, right? And so it has to go deeper than that. When you're working every day, I have to trust that you're gonna hold that ladder for me, that I can trust you, that you're gonna hold that for me in place, right? I had to know that you're okay today. Because when I'm getting up there to work on the HVAC, I need to know, right, that you're gonna have my back. And so the way we do this is take the time. And I know we live in a day and age where it's hustle, bustle. People that I coach and talk to every day, the constant I hear, people feeling drained. People are exhausted. We have so much to do, everything that keeps us busy with our lives, from our families, from our friends sometimes, from our colleagues that we have to see most of the week. Busy, 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 task, task, task. Where can we even get the time, right, to be intentional? But that's key. Being intentional in order to make those connections. And you'll see QR codes on the bottom. Feel free to scan those. That's just resources for you based on what I'm discussing today. You can take that. If you want to implement some strategies as you move forward in your day, in your day-to-day life, definitely do that. But we need to take the time to connect. And like I said, that requires us being intentional, right? That requires us to really get to know the people who are next to us. And like the iceberg model that I showed, what's beneath the surface, right? What's the attitudes and people's feelings and their thought processes? What are their values and their beliefs? You only know that as you get to learn about one another. I used to be a part of so many great teams, and I have to tell you, there was one team that we used to do almost like a lot of everything together. We'd go on walks together to go get coffee on campus. We'd have happy hours. I would have coffee chats, is what they're called, where I have the time to be able to connect and be intentional, even if it's for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just let me catch up with you. And coffee chats, they're called. I'm sure you've heard of them. It's a way for me, whenever I'm new somewhere, I immediately reach out to people I don't know, not just on my team who I work with every day. Because, of course, especially when you're in higher ed too, or in education, you have so many different departments you have to work with. So whether it's the registrar's office, and I'm a type of person, it didn't matter what your title was. I'm reaching out to you. Hi, I'm Jasmin. I'm your new employee here. Do you have a moment where we can connect? I would love to know more about your role. I would love to know more about why you do what you do and how you've gotten to where you are. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes. And often, I don't think I've ever gotten a no, to be honest with you, when it comes to people wanting to share themselves with you, right? I utilize LinkedIn for that too. It's a great resource I've been using to connect and network with people that I don't even know because I'm interested. I'm being intentional to be able to connect with you. I want to know a little bit more about who you are, and I can only do that if I'm willing to ask questions, give space and time to actually listen and let you be heard. Because most times, we just want opportunities to be heard, and if you've been a part of toxic environments, sometimes there's no space for that. So let's go beyond the name tag. Everybody's wearing their tags today. I don't know how many of you feel, if I may ask, and don't be shy, but if you are, that's okay, because again, whether you're extrovert, introvert, or somewhere in the middle, that's okay. We can still find ways to connect. How many of you in here know each other already? If I can't see, show of hands, if you already know a familiar, friendly face in here. Somewhat, like at least recognize the face, right? Okay. How many of you work with each other at the same company? Okay. All right, awesome. So how well do you all know each other? You say pretty well? Pretty well, yeah? Okay, how long have you been working together? Okay, so yes, all right, 20 years. So I hope by now, 20 years working together, seeing each other for that long, yes, that you feel like you have a good sense of who you're sitting next to, right? But let's go beyond the name tag. I would like to take this opportunity, and because we're in a smaller space and for time, usually I would ask for all of us to stand up and walk around and get to know as many people in this room as possible with these questions, for example, right? And then I would have you introduce that person to someone else in the room. But for now, again, for the sake of time, if in your spaces, we can start there. If you could take the time to introduce yourself, you could start with a simple, hi, I'm Diane, right? Introduce where you work. What is your role, right? And then I have some questions while you're doing that. While you're sitting there introducing yourselves, or reintroducing yourselves, because you've known each other 20 years, maybe some of these questions you haven't asked lately, okay? So I would like for you to choose one question that when you introduce yourself, you are already conveying that information. You're going to just, after you introduce yourself, say, and by the way, and answer one of those questions. After you've given the person space to say that, then the other person, someone else in the group, take a question and ask them a question. It's a give and take. Building relationships is a two-way street, right? We want to have opportunities, again, like I said, to connect. So if we could just take, let's say, the next 2-3 minutes to do that, I would love if we can do that now. Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Yes, I just would love to know if by chance you'd be willing to share or even offer up yourself, maybe your role and maybe a question that you answered if you're up to it. I'll start. I'll tell you too. I just told Jason when I asked him about a new skill, mine is I don't know how to whistle. So I always try, and it's like I'm being silly, but I really don't know how to whistle. So that would be a skill that I would love to learn. You were going to say, Cass?
Yeah,
is it Cass?
I'm Cass.
Cass. Hi, Cass.
Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
And it turns out we're both in sales.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love that.
We're focused on the questions that you provided us. We got into
No,
protection.
that's what it's about. These questions,
Try to work pickleball.
a pickleball.
You give us 30 seconds of oxygen, we're going to take off.
I love that. And that's the whole point. You don't have to even answer these questions, to be honest with you. If you connected with someone like that and you're just going off these questions, that is the point. Okay? So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? My 20 years here, maybe? Did you learn something new about each other?
I did. I learned that the skill he wants to be is less intimidating.
Oh, look at that. Do you get that often? Tell me, can you share your name? What's your name?
Dennis.
Dennis, yes. Do you get that often?
Yes, ma'am, sometimes. Yeah.
Really? What do you think that is?
Because I'm so forward and just straight to the point.
Got it. And I'm glad because
Big and massive.
it's the tattoo, the tats. Yeah, the tats are awesome though. Yeah, it's your expression. So, of course, we can't control what people perceive about us when they first see us, right? We can't control that. We can only control ourselves. But I bet if I sat down and I had a conversation with you, I'll start to learn a lot about you, understand that maybe that's just your guard, right? And if you're aware of that, that is key. We'll talk about that too. When you're aware, self-awareness is key. Then it's what do you do about that? right? We have to put the ego to the side and work on ourselves. All right, so thank you for sharing that. When I talk about the power of human connection, I'm sure you all can remember when you first started any job. Whether it was your first job ever, or whenever you found yourself in a new position, the onboarding process at any company, I feel, is detrimental. It can be positive or negative. I've been at jobs where they brought me in, sat me in a cubicle, gave me some pens and pencil, and I waited there until figuring out what's next. That tells me you're not organized, you weren't ready for me. It set the tone already. Tells me a lot about how you handle things in your office. Versus other people who they had an outline for me. I met with the president. They sat down, they wanted to come introduce themselves to me. The leader took me around, my supervisor, got to meet with the supervisor, my team. They walked me around campus. I went on a bus tour on the campus. Like, that to me is saying, yes, we hired you. We want you here. Let's get you comfortable and let you feel like you belong here, right? So I want you to take a moment to think about what was your first day on the job like. And I bet that can come to you really fast, especially if you had a good experience or a poor experience. How did others welcome you to the team? And how did you ultimately feel? Anybody willing to share that? Unless your boss is here and you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. I know I shared some of my experiences. But for me, again, the most effective companies have been the ones who, again, show their employees that we value you. Yes?
The first day on the job was, a lot of trying to figure out where everything is and how this company, does things. And one of the ways that everybody welcomed me was, of course, being very friendly and taking me out to lunch. But it was also helping me figure out where all those things were and sharing their sort of first day experiences with me.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it made me feel, really like part of the team right away.
Thank you for sharing that. What's your name?
Melanie?
Melanie, nice to meet you.
I kind of have a funny one. So I'm at Jesuit High School in Tampa, Florida.
Tampa. Mm-hmm.
And my boss, he was there a year prior to me, but what he didn't know is my nephew went to this school, so I was very familiar with the school already. So I actually kind of knew, I hate to say it, but I kind of knew the campus a little bit more than he did, a little bit more of the history. So it was I think it was like a connection though, because he's like, you know that? I'm like, yes, I told you, my nephew went here, and this was, blah, 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 and he's like, oh, this is gonna go well.
Yeah.
So,
And
it's kind of interesting, and it's been great, so.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. What's your name?
Mike.
Mike. Okay, I know, I'll come back to you. I know you had your hand up too. I don't want to miss you.
My name is Chelsea.
Chelsea, nice to meet you.
And I'm at Daytona State College.
Mhm.
I started off at Daytona State College as an HR rep, and then I moved over I was promoted to Director of Facility Services.
Congratulations.
So my first day, it was everybody was kind of on eggshells. They knew who I was. They were like, oh, I know Chelsea.
Yeah.
What is the HR lady doing?
That's right, yeah.
But they didn't know like my operations background,
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah.
So now, a year later, it's funny that you say that because that was the thing. It's like, hey, we were trying to figure out what you were doing here, but the time that I have been here, they've seen my background and like we have great relationships.
Absolutely. And building that relationship, right? They already gave a preconceived notion, as they do to Dennis here, right? Like, not giving you a chance because they're already putting the walls up, like, oh, what is she doing here, right? So, yeah, thank you for sharing. Over here.
My name's Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
I think one of the things that I found helpful when I started, and then what I think people find helpful or comforting is like the way you feel is normal. Like, yes, this is overwhelming. This is a lot. You're going to digest a lot in these first couple days. I remember what it's like. You're going to be like, what am I doing here? All of those, like, I think making the connection and helping people feel like, everyone feels like they don't know, oh my God, can I take all this on the first day, first week of their job? Whether you feel like you're super qualified or you're not, you still have to learn their systems, you still have to learn the way they do things, you have to learn the people, and that's all like, a new dance step. It's like
That's
you're
right.
trying to figure it out, like, hey, do I remember this song? And so I think that was really helpful for me, and then I found that people, when they come on, find it really helpful, especially when you're in higher ed in any form. There's just so much to digest.
Yes.
And so like just making that connection and making someone feel comfortable with not knowing is super helpful.
And that's right. And tell yourself that too,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like give yourself grace. Say, okay, this is day one. I am not going to know everything. 2 weeks from now, I'm not going to know everything. And even when you're there 5 years, sometimes you still don't know everything. You're still learning new things. There's processes are constantly changing. Leadership constantly changing. There's a lot to tackle. I always tell myself, my understanding of a company is already set during my interview process. The minute I'm interviewing, it tells me a lot how that interview went. And then, of course, my first day, and I always give a place at least 3 months, that 90-day period, because just as they're vetting me, I'm vetting them. And always remind yourself of that you have choices. I can either take that job or not take that position, right? And I can decide to stay here or not stay here. So speaking of song, Jennifer, why, in this case, when you mentioned song, it's perfect segue to my next slide here, right? Because for me, we have to ask ourselves, what is the power of human connection? What does that mean? It's a sense of belonging. Anyone here know the song, Sweet Caroline? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, yes, see? Yes. You hear that song and you feel something. I know I do. I get excited. I used to play a lot of different sports, and I have my husband in the background. I'm a Steelers fan for football, and he's a Ravens fan. If you know football, you know what that means. And then for baseball, I use this as an example for sense of belonging, because when you're at a baseball game and that song comes on, and especially if you're in Boston when it comes on, right, Fenway Park, the energy that rises at a game. Okay, you can feel that outside of the stadium, all right? People rise to their feet. They get super excited. There's an energy that you feel. You're all there, part of the same team, rooting for your home team. Apply that for a moment to your jobs. You're all in the same team. Hopefully you're all rooting for each other. Hopefully you're all wanting the best for each other. That you're being intentional to, again, connect with those people for a sense of belonging. And let me tell you, at those games, people are high-fiving each other like, yeah, woo! That's our team, and I don't even know you, but I'm high-fiving you. People are giving each other hugs. They're amped up. It's like, my team is winning, yes, right? When I go to a basketball game, same thing. I just went to a Celtics game in February, and it's that connection, right? It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from in that moment. It doesn't matter about your age, where you've come from. It does not matter. We are all there, and we're amped up. I wish we could bring that energy every day to work. It'd make our lives a whole lot easier. But we're dealing with so many different dynamics, right? You're dealing with people who've been there on the job, and sometimes they get so complacent, they're refusing to accept any new change. I walked into a job being the first advocate for a brand new unit. And it was during a time of change happening, major change from the top, and trickling down with ideas as to what they wanted to accomplish with this. And not everybody was on board. So here I am like, yay, I'm excited. I'm here on my brand new job. I'm so excited. But you have to read the room too. How to realize there are a lot of people who have been there already, dealing with a lot of different things in management, let's say, in leadership. And they were upset and frustrated. And so here I am, super excited, working on bringing my energy to my role, getting ready to take it on. And I said, ooh, tough crowd, right? So connection. So I bring that up because also I think about commencement, same thing. We are here having a shared experience, a shared human experience, as difficult and challenging as that may be. I just want you to take that in for a moment, because we are having this shared human experience in this very room right now, in the halls that you walk, and when you're outside of this building, in your personal and professional lives. We have to be intentional. We are smart human beings, and we have the ability to do so, right? To be smart, to be intentional. We have these working brains that allow us to grow and take in information. Hopefully you'll take a lot of information in over this full day and as you proceed forward in life. But definitely that's what this reminds me about, the idea of shared experience. So why is human connection important and how does this impact our teams? Many of you have mentioned it too. It impacts our teams because like any relationship, it's about building trust. Whether it's a personal relationship or professional relationship, that starts with getting to know each other, as you kind of practice here today, right? It's in the experiences that you share, the intentionality to be able to say, hey, it's in the in-betweens when I'm not looking at an email that I'm inundated with like 100 plus emails, to put my head up and give you time and a moment to be able to really look at you, give you that time and space, undivided time. It enhances communications amongst your teams. When people have a safe space where they feel like, okay, I can give my opinion and it's valued. Of course, being respectful. I think people get heated sometimes and we get really charged up with our emotions and our perceptions of things, and we're so like, yes, this is it. This is the only point is mine. No, you have to be able to give your perspective, but also receive other people's perspective as well. And then we can get to a place to agree to disagree. I like to say, let's pin that and we'll come back to that. But honestly, finding ways to be able to communicate that with each other when there are problems happening. If you're in one department, right? So I showed the picture of commencement and you miss the memo that you need 200 seats, right? Versus 100. Now you're short 100 chairs and seating for people attending that event. Somebody dropped the ball there, right? And that happens so often. Oh, excuse me. So practicing that communication enhances the power of communication. It also, you'll find, it improves mental health. I know when I was a part of the team that I absolutely loved going to work every day, even when I had to drive an hour and 45 minutes to get there. And this traffic on 4 is a pain. So I loved the team that I work with, and I don't say that lightly. I genuinely still connect with them now that I don't work there anymore. I have relationships with them where we go to happy hour and we hang out. We know about each other's families and what's going on in our lives. I enjoyed that, even when other things were messy. They are what also helped me to get up in the morning and say, whew, I can't wait to go interact with so-and-so today. I'm looking forward to our coffee chat today. I'm looking forward to our walk around campus. We would go together all the time as a group. And it was something really special because other people saw that. Other teams saw that and they're like, wow, I want to be a part of that team. And so more people wanted to start applying for roles that didn't even exist yet on that team. Because I felt that that was a great example as to what a team really is about. It also allows for you to give opportunities to empathize. Do your best. You don't have to understand where I'm coming from, right? You don't have to have experienced it, but you can at least do your best to empathize. And I tell you this because I've had a supervisor tell me one time in a very serious conversation with them, that they don't have time to care. They didn't have time to care for what I was going through. Now, granted, maybe they didn't, but this person wasn't saying it because they didn't have actual time. They were saying it because they don't really care about what it was that I was experiencing going through. So imagine me sitting there hearing that, and I just was vulnerable enough to share with you what's going on in my life. And because I also give empathy, thinking maybe this person has a lot going on their plate. I give people the benefit of the doubt. And then I do the strike 1, 2, and 3, you're out type of thing too. Because then you show me who you really are. Also, when you're part of a team and you have an efficient leader who's also part of that team, because you can have a team, but your leader that you report to, that person I would say who has the title of authority, isn't really in line with that synergy, that can really be be detrimental to that motivation, because it also starts with that person who is in that title, right? Who has that role. So think about that as well. How does this impact our teams? You build on stronger collaboration, whether it's, again, with your own individual team or across different departments. Again, when you're practicing this and getting to know, let's say, Diane from let's say HR, right? I'm just making it up here, right? So now you know who you can report to, right? It's building that stronger collaboration. It increases psychological safety. If I feel every time I come in here, someone's being very passive aggressive with me and you're my supervisor and you haven't even tried to get to know me, Victor, I'm not saying that you would do that, but right? You're my supervisor. I come into work every day and you ignore me. I'm sitting in an office that's right next to your office, and every time you pass by my door, I say, "Good morning, Victor," and you walk by. Every day. Day one is something like, okay, they must be busy. Day two, you're not that busy that you can't take a second to at least say good morning, right? A simple good morning, a simple hello is all I say. And if you want to go past that, beyond that, great. But keep that in mind. And it creates greater resilience because when we're in these lines of work that we definitely in higher ed for sure in education, things are constantly changing all the time. Leadership is constantly changing. So when you're dealing with these obstacles and challenges amongst your teams, it builds resilience when you feel comfortable with the people that you work with, knowing you got my back. I know Dennis has my back. I know I can go say, "Hey, Dennis, I am swamped over here with this long list of tasks that Emily gave me. And if you can you handle this for me, please, today?" And Dennis will say, "Well, you know what, I'm busy right now, but maybe I can do it this afternoon. Does that work?" Dennis, that'd be great. I so appreciate you, thank you, right? So it's that kind of atmosphere that hopefully you're creating in your space. It improves performance, right? You want people to do their jobs, hire people to do the job and let them do their jobs. There are too many people that micromanage because they need a sense of control. And frankly, to be blunt, that's annoying. It's frustrating. It leads to burnout and people saying bye, right? Like, peace out. I'm tired of this. Like, I'm not 5. I'm an adult that you hired that has the experience that you brought in. Give me also the training and the support and backing, and I will come and give you my 100% when all these things are aligned. And yes, some people will say, "Well, it's your job. It's your job. You should do your job no matter what." Yeah, this is true, because I own that. But I also want to be a part of a group of people that I actually enjoy working with, too. And a leader who's in the title of leadership that I respect and want to work for, because it'll drive that, too. And like I mentioned, it impacts your attrition, right? So keep that in mind. Now, in that nutshell, right, with applying all those different skills, and again, there's not enough time for us to really go in even further. I call the deep dives into each of these areas, but just keeping that in mind in your workspace, when you have that, you have stronger teams. You have happier, healthier people who actually want to work for you. You don't even have to ask them to do it. They'll be wanting to do it and get the job done efficiently, okay? So remember that all of you are a piece of the puzzle. There are all these moving parts. All you can do is own your experience and control yourself, because we can't control anybody else, right? So keep that in mind, and I want you to think about these questions. You have a puzzle piece in front of you. We'll take a minute really quickly to think about some of these questions. What does human connection mean to you? Why is it important for the work that you do? And how are you currently intentional about connecting with your team, colleagues, and departments? With that, you'll see the puzzle piece here. In the middle, write what is your role? What's your title? And then think about some of those questions around. So if you could just take a minute to do that, really be intentional about thinking about the work that you currently do, and have that be very helpful to your day-to-day. And I'll keep time in mind. Yes. And if you take a picture of it, and then whether it's on the puzzle piece or on your own piece of paper, to think about that as you move forward. The idea is really, at the end of the day, to remember that you need to own your experience. Each of us are responsible for what we bring to the table, so own it. Everybody have the picture? Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to be mindful of time. So as far as your leadership, speaking about the roles that we play, I love this quote: leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. So I always feel that even if you have a hard time, it doesn't come naturally for you to care. Remember, people feel that energy. At least act like you care, right? That's impactful. The QR code, you can, it's Simon Sinek's quote, and you can check out his video there. Again, as I mentioned, leader versus title. It's just a title. People let it get to their heads sometimes. We could respect everybody. No matter where I worked, I didn't care if you, from the president down to my custodial people, who I absolutely so also respect, had some of the greatest relationships with them as well. Doesn't matter what your title is. It's about how do you lead your people and how do you connect with them, right? To be intentional about that. I'm going to skip through. I don't want to read them for you. I'll let you I have them highlighted. Inspires through action versus relies on authority or ranking, right? They lead by example instead of just expecting respect instead of it being earned. So if you'd like, you can take a picture of that. Again, what does mastering leadership look like through the power of human connection? It's empathy in action. As I mentioned earlier about empathizing. It's having authentic communication, being authentic, not necessarily faking it, but if you got to fake it till you make it, right, and you learn the skill and develop yourself, please do so. Have opportunities to build trust. When's the last time your teams had a team building activity? Do something where you're actually taking 5 minutes of your time to get to see how someone is doing. And practice active listening with actual questions, follow up, making sure that you give them the opportunity to actually listen. We used to have one-on-ones, and people would complain afterwards that the person never let them speak. So you're calling me in for a one-on-one, but you're not really listening to me because you end up doing all the talking. So be mindful of that. You're giving your staff the time to be heard. So give them that time. Like I mentioned, be genuine. You don't have to be the nurturing on that level, but practice these skills. Have a shared purpose and support each other and encourage one another. Why is this important for effective leadership? Like I mentioned, it increases engagement. It boosts collaboration, promotes emotional intelligence, and leads to better decision making, where I feel in a space where I can be who I am authentically, I am trusted to do the job at hand, and I can get my work done. How does this benefit your teams and business? Enhance teamwork and collaboration across the board. Improves your well-being, right? You show up. You feel good about the space you're in. You don't have to worry about, is someone going to be constantly on your back all day long, because they trust you to do the job. Enhance productivity and performance. Positive workplace culture and morale. Improves customer relations and satisfaction and retention. Toxic leaders look a little bit like this. I don't know if you work for any, but this is a list of what they tend to exhibit. And this, in turn, when you have these behaviors going on, right? Lack of empathy, ego-driven, they do not receive constructive criticism or feedback, right? It leads to poor management practices, where you have a lack of support, ineffective communication, and insufficient recognition, knowing that you're doing the job well. And at that point, it leads to burnout, and people are frustrated and end up wanting to leave, right? Also keep that in mind. Ultimately, you decide, I'm out of here, right? This is not working for me anymore. And like I said earlier, remember that you do have options. Develop a growth mindset. Be adaptable, embrace change, build trust, be transparent. Allow yourself room to continue to develop yourself, right? We can always continue to develop. So keep that in mind. Be open to new ideas and be adaptable to change, because change is definitely a constant. Strategies to grow as an effective leader. Find a mentor. seek feedback, then act on it. It's not enough to come to conferences, learn things, and then we never go back to the offices and implement them. Develop self-awareness, practice active listening, build strong relationships, learn to delegate effectively, right? You don't have to do it all. Allow the people that you work for you to get the job done as well. And lead by example. Here are some strategies to connect as we head on out. And we're about to wrap up shortly. Strategies for connection. As I mentioned earlier, coffee chats. For me, this is really key. I even had supervisors that I've worked for sometimes and different leaders ask me about how to go about the coffee chat. Really, I found that to help with me acclimating to a position and getting to know the people that I work with. Join a committee, right? That's a great way to get to know the people that you work with as well. We created the Sunshine Committee where we wanted to recognize people for their accolades and those who want to be celebrated for birthdays and things like that, right? Their work anniversaries. We also had a committee we called Thrive to help with professional development, right? So we did that amongst ourselves. We created that amongst the team. Make sure to consider maybe one-on-one meetings, go on a walk with someone, even in the midst of like just walking from one place to the next task gives opportunity to have opportunity for questioning. Mentorship is really key as well, where you can learn from other people that are doing what you want to be doing already. Team activities and happy hour. We enjoy happy hour. So as you go out into your professional lives and your personal lives, this is a great quote. As a leader, you have an amazing opportunity to positively impact the lives of many people, a responsibility you should never take for granted. Don't abuse your power, especially when you have the title of authority. Keep that in mind and you'll continue to have important impact, positive impact, and you'll thrive as a team, keeping in mind that each of you plays an important piece to mastering leadership through the power of human connection. So allow your skills to start loading, and I hope that you go implement them in your day-to-day. I thank you so much for your time. Thank you.